Jeopardy. Super champion Adriana Harmeyer has revealed that the show's taping schedule took a huge toll on her stamina. Adriana won 15 consecutive games, the 11th longest run in history, before getting outplayed by survivor alum Drew Basile. On the official Inside Jeopardy podcast, Adriana shared her thoughts about her shock defeat to Drew 22 on June 19. Jeopardy. Fans may know that the game show tapes 5 episodes, or a week's worth, in a day. The show usually tapes twice weekly, but that wasn't true for the West Lafayette, Indiana archivist. While her first 3 games were filmed in April, her last 13 games were, or 3 tape days, in May were on 3 consecutive days. Her defeat came on her 3rd straight day of taping, which she, and even producers, admitted was a tough hand to be dealt. Big FAC Tour. In a post-game chat aired on the podcast, Jennings brought up the grueling schedule change after Adriana lost. "I want to ask you about the possibility of fatigue," he said. "Viewers see one show every day, but if we were being honest about how Jeopardy is taped, the last 13 games you played just within 72 hours of each other. Does that take a toll?" "Absolutely yes," Adriana said. "I can feel that I'm a little slower on the buzzer. My brain is taking longer to piece things together, yeah. Big factor." Later in the podcast, producer Sarah Foss interviewed Adriana on her record run and apologized for the back-to-back tape dates. "One thing I want to point out to people is how many games you played in such a short amount of time. To play that much Jeopardy in a short amount of time is something few people can understand. It was more exhausting than I expected," Adriana responded. "By the 3rd day, I could feel it wearing on me a little bit. I just did my best to fight through it and keep going as best I could to focus on buzzer speed and keep remembering things. An unusual experience, I think." Foss explained that having 3 tape days in a row was rare and happened because the show was rushing to finish its 40th season. "Oftentimes, we tape 2 consecutive days, so many times one of our champions has to compete in 10 consecutive games. There were a lot of challenges in this year's production schedule, and it did cause us to have these lengthened weeks at the end. I did feel for you," and I said, "Oh goodness," Foss admitted. "I even said to Ken, did you ever think that the reason you went so long is because you had a summer break?" He was midway through his run, and he had weeks and months off. Oftentimes, a lot of our returning champions, that is the case. So who knows what could have happened if we went on summer break after day 2 in May? Who knows, but it was really impressive, and even more impressive is the level of competition you had to face. In the face of exhaustion, you. On her loss to Drew, Adriana added, "It was a tough game. Both competitors were so strong, and the game was so tight. He, Drew, did what made sense on that daily double, and as soon as he made that bet, I knew if he missed it, but if he got that right, it could change things. And he did, and that was impressive." HOCK win over Adriana. Drew dominated his initial match against Adriana 34 and Tekla Sauter. Adriana was the shoo-in favorite to win her 16th game in a row, already amassing over $350,000. So it was quite a shocker when Drew, the first Survivor contestant to ever compete on the game show, snuffed her torch. In Double Jeopardy, the tribe has spoken moment came when Drew found the second daily double and fearlessly wagered $10,000. She couldn't recover from there, and Drew won the game in a runaway. As Alex Trebek used to say, "We have a giant killer on our hands. Rarely as giant as this." Ken 50 told Drew, referring to the upset win and his height at a towering 6'6". Ken confirmed that Adriana would compete in the next Tournament of Champions as she looked somber upon the loss, and she and Drew awkwardly shook hands. Surviving on Jeopardy. Drew was on Survivor in 2023 and has since proven his initial win was no fluke, as he's now won 4 games and $75,682. His wins have made for splashy TV, with his 3rd victory coming from an ultra-rare tiebreaker. His fourth win saw him nab 33 correct responses, a season record for any contestant. Some fans have called out Drew for showboating during his wins. With Adriana, he made a joke response in final Jeopardy and pumped his fists after winning the tiebreaker. Good tense game. After seeing the extremely modest Adriana Allison et al. On my screen for so long, I'm still trying to get used to the showboating and banter from Drew. One fan recently posted on X. Drew opened up to people about his run on the show as his upset win has turned into its own streak. It's a funny joke. Because I gotta tell you, I am very tall. I'm 6'6", so I really stand out. So it's giant in physical stature, but I hope to continue on with some great games to qualify for the Tournament of Champions. And they call me a giant in Jeopardy. Stature, a trivia giant taking out Adriana Harmeyer. Obviously, an extremely competent player with 15 wins. It's a good start. I see big things in my Jeopardy future. I hope to become a giant myself, hopefully one that does not get slayed. Drew also admitted that he plans to stockpile his winnings from the show and take his girlfriend on vacation, but nothing too fancy. Drew and his girlfriend, Mary Grace, met while he was pursuing his bachelor's at the University of Pennsylvania. He is now pursuing his master's in English literature at Oxford University in England. They've been together for 3 years. Drew was announced as a Jeopardy contestant last month, and the decision instantly turned heads. He immediately got haters after his Survivor season aired, who dubbed him a know-it-all. Drew, the youngest of his season, was booted from the top 6 but held his own. Drew would use history, philosophy, and other random topics to weave his experiences on the island and his mindset in the game into long soliloquies in tribal council. The haters have called me a know-it-all, Drew wrote on Instagram, announcing his Jeopardy appearance. It's time to prove them right. Drew isn't the only Jeopardy champ with a Survivor connection. Juvaria Zahir is the older sister of Omar Zahir, who competed on Survivor 42 in 2022. Juvaria won the Second Chance tournament and Champions Wildcard, winning $100,000. He will go for Win 5 on Tuesday's episode, which would guarantee him a Tournament of Champions ticket like Adriana. Asterisk title, The Rise and Fall of a Jeopardy. Super Champ asterisk. Adriana Harmeyer sat in the green room of the Jeopardy studio, a place that had become increasingly familiar over the past few weeks. The hustle and bustle of crew members and the murmurs of fellow contestants were a comforting constant. Today, though, felt different. After an astonishing run that made her a household name among trivia enthusiasts, Adriana's journey was about to face its toughest challenge yet, Drew Basile. The days leading up to this moment had been a whirlwind. Adriana had become a Jeopardy super champ, dominating the game with her encyclopedic knowledge and quick reflexes. Each victory had brought not only financial rewards, but also a growing sense of pressure. As she looked into the mirror, adjusting her blazer for what could be her final game, Adriana couldn't ignore the fatigue that had settled in her bones. "How are you feeling?" her friend and fellow contestant Maria asked, popping her head into the dressing room. Adriana smiled wearily. "Ready as I'll ever be. But I won't lie, Maria, I'm exhausted. This whole experience has been incredible, but it's taken a lot out of me." Maria nodded sympathetically. "You've been on fire, Adriana. Just remember, no matter what happens today, you've made history." The familiar theme music began to play, signaling it was time to take their places. Adriana took a deep breath, drawing on her reserves of energy and focus. As she walked onto the stage, the applause from the audience was deafening. She gave a small wave, her eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on Drew Basile, her competitor. He was an imposing figure with a reputation for being a formidable player. The first few rounds went smoothly. Adriana found her rhythm, hitting her stride with a series of correct responses that kept her in the lead. Drew, however, was not far behind, matching her wit and speed with every clue. The tension between them was palpable, each one pushing the other to their limits. As the game progressed into double Jeopardy, Adriana began to feel the weight of her success. The fatigue she had confessed to Maria earlier was now creeping into her thoughts, clouding her usually sharp mind. She missed a couple of clues she would have easily answered on a better day, and Drew capitalized on her mistakes, steadily narrowing the gap. During the commercial break, Adriana took a moment to gather herself. She closed her eyes, visualizing her favorite places and drawing strength from memories of her journey. When the game resumed, she felt a renewed sense of determination. This was it, the final stretch. The last category was revealed: famous explorers. Adriana's heart raced. History had always been her strong suit, and she knew she had to make every response count. The first few questions were a blur, with both contestants buzzing in rapidly, trading points in a fierce back and forth. Then came the final clue of double jeopardy. This explorer, who circumnavigated the globe in the 16th century, has a strait named after him. Adriana's hand shot up, and she answered confidently, "Who is Ferdinand Magellan?" The familiar chime of a correct response echoed, and she breathed a sigh of relief. As they moved into final jeopardy, Adriana led by a slim margin. The category: literary first lines. Adriana's mind raced through the countless novels she had devoured over the years. The clue was revealed. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Adriana wrote her response with shaky hands, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. As the music ended, she revealed her answer. What is A Tale of Two Cities? She had wagered everything, knowing it was her best chance to secure a win. Drew's answer was the same. The deciding factor came down to their wagers. Drew had bet conservatively, ensuring that his total would surpass Adriana's if she had made a mistake. When the final totals were revealed, Drew's score edged out Adriana's by a narrow margin. The audience erupted in applause for both contestants, but Adriana felt a mix of emotions. She had lost, but she had also accomplished so much. Drew walked over, extending his hand. "You were incredible," he said sincerely. "That was one of the toughest games I've ever played." Adriana smiled, shaking his hand. "Congratulations, Drew. You deserved it." As she left the stage, Adriana felt a strange sense of relief wash over her. The relentless pursuit of victory had taken its toll, but it had also shown her the depths of her resilience and determination. She had become a Jeopardy super champ, and though her reign had ended, the legacy she left behind would endure. In the days that followed, Adriana reflected on her journey. She had pushed herself to the limit, discovering new strengths and facing her weaknesses head-on. The fatigue she had experienced was a testament to the effort she had poured into each game, and she was proud of every moment. Returning to her everyday life, Adriana found solace in the simple pleasures she had missed. She reconnected with friends, pursued hobbies she had set aside, and cherished the quiet moments of rest. Her time on Jeopardy had been a chapter filled with triumph and challenge, but now it was time to turn the page. Adriana Harmeyer's story became an inspiration to many, a reminder that even in the face of fatigue and adversity, perseverance and passion could lead to extraordinary achievements. She had faced one of the toughest competitors in Jeopardy history and held her own, proving that true champions were defined not just by their victories, but by the grace and determination with which they faced their defeats.